October 2025 in California just erupted. Gavin Newsom, he thought he could quietly pull off the biggest political power grab in modern state history, but tonight it's blowing up in his face because the man standing in his way isn't Donald Trump. It isn't the Supreme Court. It's the governor himself, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's calling Gavin Newsom's so-called Proposition 50 exactly what it is. It's a scam to erase Republican voters and lock Democrats into power for a generation. This is the same Gavin Newsom who vetoed funding for firefighters while half of Los Angeles was burning. Then he turned around and shoveled millions of dollars into a plan to redraw congressional maps in his own party's favor. Now, let that sink in for a second, okay? Firefighters can't get a raise, but political consultants can get a bonus check, and now the backlash is spreading like wildfire. Voters are furious, firefighters are furious, even lifelong Democrats are saying, look, enough is enough. Arnold Schwarzenegger, he went on national television and said it flat out: terminate gerrymandering. And the polls, they're shifting fast. Faster than Gavin Newsom's press team can even spin this thing. So buckle up, guys, because what's happening in California right now could reshape the entire 2026 midterms, maybe even 2028. This is the governor versus the governor, and for Gavin Newsom, it's looking like game over. Hit the like button and subscribe. Okay, so here's what kicked off this whole storm into overdrive. So Governor Gavin Newsom, he dropped Proposition 50 like a political bomb in the middle of 2025, an unprecedented mid-cycle move that would rip redistricting power away from California's voter-approved independent commission and hand it right back to the same politicians in Sacramento. Now, in plain English, the referees get fired and the players redraw the lines themselves. Now, Gavin Newsom calls it temporary, just for the 2026 through 2030 elections. But the insiders know that this is the kind of temporary that becomes permanent the moment that it benefits those who are in charge. Now, he's selling this thing as self-defense, a way to counter Republican gerrymandering in Texas and Florida. But that spin collapses real fast when you look at the numbers. California already leans blue, yet Prop 50 would tilt up to 5 more U.S. House seats to Democrats while slashing what's left of Republican representation. This is the latest chess move in Gavin Newsom's long-term plan to climb the national ladder, cement dominance at home, brag about saving democracy, and then roll into the 2028 presidential election race with a solid blue trophy map. Only problem here, though, is voters are waking up to it. What he's calling reform looks a whole lot more like regime insurance, if you know what I mean. Enter the governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yes, the man who once ran the state and famously vowed to terminate gerrymandering has stepped back into the arena, and he's furious. So back in 2010, it was Arnold Schwarzenegger who championed the ballot measure that created California's independent redistricting commission. Now he's watching Gavin Newsom try to dismantle that legacy for political gain. In interviews with CNN and Fox 11 Los Angeles, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he didn't mince words. This is a scam. 2 wrongs don't make a right. The optics are incredible. Hollywood action hero turned reformer facing off against the slick-haired, camera-ready incumbent governor. This is a clash of eras, of philosophies. One fought to give power back to voters. The other one is determined to keep it concentrated in Sacramento. Now, Arnold Schwarzenegger's message resonates because it's very simple and it's moral. He isn't protecting Republicans. He's protecting fairness. Every clip of him saying terminate gerrymandering has gone viral, igniting bipartisan nostalgia for the days when politicians feared voters, not the other way around. And as this governor versus governor saga unfolds, it's giving Californians something that they haven't seen in years: a public figure willing to call out corruption from the inside. Now, most people admit that they don't fully understand their Medicare plan, and that uncertainty right there costs them money and peace of mind. This is why I partner with Chapter. Their advisors build confidence by explaining your Medicare coverage clearly so that you know exactly where you stand. Now, one of our viewers, she said, I finally feel in control of my Medicare plan thanks to Chapter. So let me ask, do you want to stay in the dark? Or do you want to feel what most people already are and choosing confidence? Now, most people are already calling the phone number right there at the bottom of your screen, or they're visiting askchapter.org/Ron. That phone number again is 909-563-8279. Medicare premiums are set to rise next year, and many Medicare Advantage plans are disappearing altogether. Do not wait until the last minute. Call right now and get this off of your plate so that you can actually enjoy the fall without Medicare stress hanging over your head. Now, here's where the mask really slips. So Proposition 50 isn't some neutral reform. It's a straight up power grab that's designed to erase dissent. California is roughly 40% Republican, yet out of 52 congressional seats, only 9 are red. Now, that is clearly already a failing grade for fairness, but under Gavin Newsom's new map, Republicans would be squeezed down to only 4 seats, 4 out of 52 in a state of 40 million people. Now think about that, guys. Does that even sound remotely fair to you? Drop an unfair if you think that sounds pretty unfair. So Democrats spent years railing against gerrymandering in red states, calling it voter suppression. Now they're doing the exact same thing in blue territory, slicing districts into these abstract shapes that corral conservatives like cattle. Meanwhile, they're padding progressive strongholds with artificial majorities. This is hypocrisy on a structural scale. They talk about protecting democracy, but what they're really protecting is dominance. And it's no accident that this push comes just as President Trump's economy is booming again. With Republican enthusiasm surging heading into the 2026 midterms, Newsom knows that his party cannot win on merit, so he's resorting to map manipulation. California see it for what it is. It's not democracy in action. It's democracy under attack. So now here's the insult that turned frustration into fury. While millions burn under sky orange skies and firefighters beg for help, Gavin Newsom vetoed a bill that would have increased CAL FIRE pay and boosted wildfire prevention funding. His reason? Budgetary constraints. Yet in the same breath, he funneled tens of millions of dollars into Prop 50 campaign and Trump-proof California initiative, a political slush fund that's dressed up as a democracy reform. Try telling that to the crews who spent weeks on the fire lines outside of Los Angeles this summer, or how about to the families who lost homes in the Santa Clarita blaze? They're asking a very fair question. If there's no money for water drops or overtime, why is there plenty for consultants and campaign ads? The hypocrisy burns hotter than the fires themselves. Now, firefighters unions, once loyal Democrats, are starting to break ranks. They see a governor who treats first responders as expendable people. Meanwhile, they're protecting their political insiders. This is the kind of betrayal that unites people across party lines, not left or right, but survival versus spin. And this is why this Prop 50 fight is catching national attention right now. I mean, the man who claims to be fighting for Californians, he just cut funding to the heroes who saved them. And let me ask you this. When you think about your financial future, what worries you the most? Because when leaders are mismanaging billions of dollars, it's the taxpayers, not the politicians, who always get burned. And so now we're seeing the backlash that Newsom never saw coming. In the heart of California's Central Valley, places like Bakersfield, Fresno, and Modesto, farmers and small business owners are openly rebelling. They're tired of being treated like second-class citizens in their own state. Rural voters see Prop 50 for what it really is, an attempt to erase their voice completely from Congress. But it's not just them anymore. In fact, even suburban moderates around Orange County and San Diego, areas that have swung blue in recent cycles, they're beginning to peel away. Then you got the firefighters, the very people Gavin Newsom vetoed raises for. They're now showing up at local town halls and saying, no, not on 50. Now imagine the optics here. CAL FIRE trucks lined up outside government offices. Meanwhile, the governor's team is inside redrawing maps to guarantee more Democrats in Washington. That image alone is a political dynamite. Even Democrats on the coast who once championed fair maps, they're now forced to choose between their party and their principles. Now, for many people, this is a breaking point. The revolt is no longer theoretical, it's visible, it is emotional, and it's spreading. So Gavin Newsom's coalition is cracking, and the people he counted on, they're turning their backs. So when cornered, Gavin Newsom does what he always does, invoke Donald J. Trump. His entire defense in Prop 50 rests on the claim that Republicans in Texas, Florida, and other red states have rigged their maps so that California must fight fire with fire. But here's the twist, guys. It's October 2025, and President Trump's back in office. He's leading a roaring economy, and he's holding approval numbers that Democrats swore were impossible. California's so-called resistance suddenly looks a little bit desperate, not noble. Newsom's rhetoric, we're protecting democracy from authoritarianism. Yeah, sure, that rings pretty hollow when you realize that he's using the exact same tactics that he condemned for 4 straight years. He's not saving democracy. He's cloning the system that he pretended to despise. It's political theater with a moral price tag on it. Even national media outlets are starting to admit the irony. When CNN's panel asked why Gavin Newsom was overriding a voter-approved independent commission, the only defense offered was Trump started it. I mean, how old are we? 4 years old? That's not leadership. That is blame shifting. Californians are waking up to it because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who started it. It matters who's abusing it right now. Now, if we follow the money, and drop a follow the money down below, guys, because this grassroots movement has billionaire fingerprints all over it. Meanwhile, Gavin Newsom pretends Prop 50 is powered by ordinary Californians. Campaign finance records tell a completely different story, though. Millions of dollars are pouring in from deep-pocketed donors and political action committees tied tied to George Soros, Tom Steyer, and a handful of other Silicon Valley elites who all share one goal: keep California permanently blue. Now, these are the same people who bankroll climate change, think tanks, social equity nonprofits, and now, ironically, the same propaganda machine that they once condemned as dark money. Even the so-called No Kings Beach protest looked more like a movie set than a movement. Perfect choreography, printed banners, rotating flags, all captured by camera crews magically in the right place at the right time. Does that sound organic to you? Please, ain't nobody falling for that. It's billionaire-funded theater dressed up as civic engagement. Meanwhile, the media eats it up, amplifying every talking point about defending democracy without ever mentioning who's paying for the ads. But that narrative is collapsing fast. Independent journalists have begun tracing the cash trails, and voters are starting to ask the forbidden question: if this plan is so popular, then why do they need so much money to sell it? When optics meet outrage, propaganda becomes proof of guilt. Now, this is where the moral facade really shatters, guys. Now, for years, Democrats claimed Trump's America was the end of democracy, okay? They called red state redistricting authoritarian, and they swore that they would never stoop to such tactics. Yet, here we are, the same party carving up California like a Thanksgiving turkey, all to secure more power. I mean, this is the oldest trick in politics: accuse your opponent of what you're already doing. Newsom spent 4 years painting himself as the anti-Trump, the moral alternative, the protector of democracy, but he's doing the very thing that he used to call un-American. He's redrawing boundaries to silence millions of voters, and when people call him out, he hides behind these moral buzzwords like equity and justice. Those words have almost completely lost their meaning, and they're camouflage for control. Arnold Schwarzenegger, he sees it clearly. His message cuts straight through all the noise. Two wrongs don't make a right. Democrats can't fight tyranny by becoming tyrants. You can't defend democracy by destroying representation. This is why the backlash feels so different, because it's not partisan. It is ethical. Californians of every stripe are realizing that integrity isn't red or blue, it's black and white. And Newsom's double standard has completely crossed the line. Now, at its core, Prop 50 isn't about maps, it's about legacy. Now, for Gavin Newsom, this is clearly personal. Every move that he makes now is aimed squarely at 2028. He wants to run for president. Let's just be honest, right? So where he's been quietly positioning himself as the Democrats' great hope, he's seen as young, telegenic, and ruthless enough to go toe-to-toe with Trump. But this scandal could destroy that image faster than any Republican attack ad ever could. So instead of being the man who saved democracy, he's becoming the governor who tried to rewrite it. And across from him stands Arnold Schwarzenegger, the man who built his political reputation on the opposite idea: reform. Back in 2010, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he sold voters on independence and fairness. And so now he's fighting to preserve that promise. Now for Arnold, this is about principle and pride, ensuring the system that he created doesn't become another casualty of partisan greed. Two governors, two legacies colliding. Now, if Newsom wins, California becomes a cautionary tale. If Schwarzenegger wins, it becomes a redemption arc for voter-driven reform. Either way, guys, the stakes stretch way further beyond Sacramento. This fight right here, it will define how future Americans view California: beacon of democracy or blueprint for manipulation. And so now, the grand finale, the backfire. Everything Gavin Newsom thought would tighten his grip on California is slowly, or rather quickly, slipping through his fingers. Firefighters are openly protesting him. Rural counties are threatening lawsuits. Even his Hollywood donors are going quiet, afraid of being associated with the word gerrymander. Lawsuits have already been filed by Republican attorneys arguing Prop 50 violates the state's constitution's voter-approved protections. Now, if the courts side against him, it won't just kill Prop 50. It could cripple his 2028 campaign before it even begins. Worse yet, national Democrats are starting to distance themselves, quietly admitting off camera that the optics are really bad. In fact, the same media that once crowned him the golden boy of the left is now airing clips of Arnold Schwarzenegger's fiery rebukes and headlines like "California's democracy under fire." This is the poetic irony here. Newsom wanted to redraw the map, but instead he redrew the battlefield. What he framed as a fight for democracy has turned into a referendum on his own integrity. The power grab didn't just fail, it detonated in his hands. And the shockwave might echo all the way to 2028. So there it is, guys. The governor who tried to outplay democracy, Gavin Newsom, just got outplayed by it. California voters are uniting. The governor is roaring back, and the message is very clear. You can't rig the rules when people are watching. This isn't the end of the story. This is the turning point. Watch the backlash grow. Share this everywhere, and let me know in the comments, who do you stand with? The governor who built fairness, or the governor who tried to burn it down? Like, subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one. Hey, by the way, guys, if you're one of the real ones who really enjoy what we do here on the channel, you've got to check out the Inner Circle. This is where our true supporters get exclusive access to content that I just can't share here, completely commercial free. It's also the best way to keep this channel going strong. So if you want to be a part of something special, join us over there. Links in the description or in the pinned comment down below.